Hey Ben, Mr. X. Yeah, I got XM Studios Maestro version A. Just thank you. Yeah, he's fantastic. But how much for version B? Okay, with shipping. Are you kidding me? Eh, you only live once, I guess. Do it. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Hey, my eyes are back here. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey everybody, welcome to the Extreme Channel. I'm very excited. This is arguably one of the most anticipated statues ever created. And that's not just by me, although it is my most anticipated statue of 2024. And look at that, it's already here. This is Maestro, or Maestro as you guys like to call him, you say it wrong, by XM Studios. So if you're unfamiliar, you're like, that looks like an old Hulk. It really is. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Maestro today as we review this. And there are so many things going on. So first I want to let you know, obviously the size of this is absolutely ridiculous. It's quarter scale, 1/4 scale. I want to really quick reference back this video from Prime One Studio. I said this Predator is really stupid, despite the fact it's awesome, because it's just way too frickin' big.
That's what she said.
Everything I said in there about the size of that applies to this, with some exception we're going to talk about in design. XM Studios was really smart. Smarter than Prime One Studio was. We dive into this character. I've actually owned a statue of him before, but you have to know he is from Hulk. So we're going to talk about that. And you know I love Hulk statues. I've owned over 30, and not only do I love Hulk statues, but I love throne statues. So this is the best of both worlds. Really quick, Maestro is from an alternate future where World War III happens and they use so much radioactive shit. Not only does it kill the majority of the humans, it kills some of the other heroes and villains, but it makes Hulk stronger. Bruce Banner, not only does it make him stronger, but he's really just done with humans. He spent his entire life trying to save them, and they end up killing themselves and each other. And the gamma makes him a lot more powerful, messes with his mind, the radiation, and eventually he just becomes this evil leader named Maestro, or Maestro. Maestro kind of rules with an iron fist. He kills anyone that disagrees with him. There's a little band of resistance with actually his best friend, Rick Jones, which if you know Hulk history, that's how he turned into the Hulk originally. He saved him from the bomb, and then he turned into the Hulk. So there's a resistance. And spoiler alert, if you don't want to know, but you actually want to read the storyline, Peter David's, if I can show you here, Peter David's omnibus on Maestro is one of the best omnibus I've ever read in my life. I would say it's definitely top 10. I would 100% pick this up. You can pick it up on Amazon or most comic book sites. But amazing, amazing book. It tells the whole story. It actually starts kind of at the end. And at the end is what it is Rick Jones and his rebels actually go back in time. They use Dr. Doom's time equipment, and they bring back the Bruce Banner, the young Hulk, before all this has happened. Him and Maestro fight, and you can read that and figure out what happens. But tons of cool stories in here, lots of time traveling, lots of epic battles. But in the end, it's just about Maestro and that nobody can defeat him. And you can see that from all the fallen enemies here. So let's talk about the concept of this piece first, because what's really cool about this, not only is it badass, you see he defeated everybody and there's these real cool trophies around, but that's actually directly from the comics. So there was kind of this trophy room that for a while the Rebels actually lived in once he abandoned it. And most of these are directly from that comic from the trophy room. A few of them XM Studios has taken a little bit of their own take on. A few of them are directly through. So before we look at Maestro himself, I want to look at all the fallen enemies on the throne. Which for me, when you talk about a throne concept, that's what makes it great. He destroyed everybody. He's sitting there victorious. So we're going to look at each one with shots now, and we're going to look at video later of this beast. So who did he kill, at least in here? And in the comics, there's even more trophies in that room other than what we see here. Starting at the back, he's sitting on a Sentinel head. So he destroyed this Sentinel right here. Then Silver Surfer's board, or as Mrs. X would say, Silver Surfer. That one's a hard one to destroy. Just as hard, Namor, or the Submariner. You got Tony Stark's Iron Man suit and War Machine. There's actually 3 indicators he killed Thor. The helmet is one right here. And then you have Loki's helmet. Then he didn't kill them, but he trapped the symbiotes. You have Carnage first. And I don't believe this was in the comic, Venom, but I really like the addition. I think that's the creative liberty they took. On the front, Cap's shield, Juggernaut's helmet, Mjolnir, and then you also have Stormbreaker, the third tribute to Thor. Doc Ock's arm is in the back. Some more heads or helmets. You have Cerebro, so killed Professor X or the X-Men. Magneto right behind that. And keep in mind, these are some of the most powerful people in Marvel. Ultron, Black Panther, Doom's mask, Nova, Doctor Strange's cape. Now with that, you can see right here, he's actually holding the Infinity Gauntlet minus the gem. So a little bit of touch to Thanos there. So that is absolutely cool. I love how he's sitting. Dive in and zoom into Maestro himself. Even without the trophies, this would be a cool throne piece. He's sitting back, victorious. The throne itself is still made out of the trophies. You don't have to have the extra trophies. That's something we're going to talk about in design. And he is just an evil badass. He kills people when he gets mad at them. He does a lot of sexual stuff that kind of pushes it a little bit far, but he has a bunch of concubines, essentially. And he is the king of the world. He's impatient. He doesn't care. And with that, he actually kind of likes challenges. I remember in the omnibus when he finally got to fight young Hulk, he was actually excited because it was going to be a challenge. So it really shows that Hulk is the ultimate Marvel character. He can beat everybody. He's going to be around forever. He never dies, or so we think. And I think this throne captures it well with and without the trophy. So, of course, the concept's a 5 out of 5 on this. Really impressed. That's what makes this statue, in my opinion. Now, design-wise, when you're trying to do something this elaborate, you're going to have a lot of flaws, so to say. Some of them may be assembly-related. Some may be displayability. So we're going to talk all about those. And normally I would do an unboxing video. I couldn't do that. So I'm going to tell you why. By looking at the packaging here. First, it had to be freight shipped. We're going to talk about how much this cost in a bit. So 3 giant boxes on pallets. I think the freight shipping was damn near 500 pounds. The statue itself is almost 300. And as I dove into each box, it has the classic XM Studio stuff. Those boxes that are almost impossible to get the lids off, as well as the straps. And it had an art print, which is kind of nice, as well as some instructions and a QR code for the assembly video, which we're going to come back to. And then each piece. Now, as we unboxed each layer here, the nice thing about it is we didn't have anything broken. There is a decent quality issue we're going to look at, but it was just absolutely monstrous. And some of these pieces, namely the throne, probably weighed over 100 pounds each. It is definitely a 2-person operation. And that's not an XM Studios recommendation. That is a Mr. X recommendation. I think other than life-size statues, this is the only time I actually asked for help to get something like this out of the box. Now, really quick, if you really wanted to see the assembly, and it'll give you a little bit better feel of stuff I'm talking about, check out the top of the video right there. A card just flashed for XM Studios assembly video. They always do a great job at those, and I did use that as a reference. Now, so many different things to talk about with design. First of all, there's 2 versions of this. One where you just had the throne, that's version A, and then the one where you had all the trophies or enemies, that's version B. So I have version B, obviously, if you couldn't figure that out. God, you're stupid. But there are some switch out options. Let's look at those. So first, there's 2 portraits. Now, I believe each of these portraits are meant to go with one of the switch out arms we're going to look at. But one, he's mad in both of them. He's always mad. But he's kind of looking up, almost viewing something. And this really goes when he's holding the Infinity Gauntlet, in my opinion. I think these 2 flow together really well. But you can switch those out, and it's interchangeable. You can do one where he's actually looking down a little bit and almost contemplating. And this works really well when you have his fist up, almost like he's about to lean his chin on it, really think about everything that he's done. He's bored with the world. And you can mix those up too, but when you mix them up, it looks a little strange. Now this necklace right here is actually mixed media, so you don't have to display it, although it's quintessential Maestro in my opinion. And it does cover up this huge ass QC flaw. How did XM Studios miss this when they put it in the box? Were they just like, oh, too fucking heavy? But that's a pretty big miss on QC in a pretty obvious place in my opinion, so I'm disappointed with that. Now as you saw, there are light up features. So namely, all the individual trophies here light up, and they all take AAA batteries. So here's a picture not lit up. You can see everything. And then lit up, 3 AAA batteries each, 10 different compartments, so 30 AAA batteries. Then these Sentinel eyes in the back here, you can see them off, but they take 3 of the small watch batteries each. This on. And again, these are probably light up features you'll never use because you individually have to open each one up, remove the cover, turn on the switch, put it back on. While it's really cool, huge flaw in my opinion, and to me, if you're going to do light up features nowadays, make it easy. So whether they can use a remote for that or there's some way they can connect it all to the base where you plug it in with AC adapter, otherwise just don't do them. So while it is a cool added benefit, I think the design of it destroys whatever benefits it has. So lastly, let's talk about how you can display it other than what we discussed. So you have these platforms here for the trophies. You don't need these platforms. You can go without them. I decided I'm going to go with them, but you could place these trophies anywhere. In fact, you could put them with another statue if you wanted. So I do like that variability, and it saves a lot of space. Now another thing, if you've seen the statue, you may have been questioning, Mr. X, you're missing a big piece of this statue. I am, and that's where there's a huge advantage and disadvantage. This isn't the actual base. This isn't the bottom of the statue, this round circle he's sitting on that you see Juggernaut's helmet. There's actually a bigger one. You saw it in the unboxing. Here it is up against a chair. Now, the bonus to this is it looks a little nicer, and it gives a rotating feature for this statue. So while those are bonuses, the disadvantage is it adds probably another 40 pounds, and it makes this a much bigger statue. So I decided maybe we can display without it. And because you can move around the stuff on the side or choose to use the platforms, I think that stupidness we talked about with the Prime 1 Studio Predator statue regarding the size, I think there's some ways this does a better job managing it. But even with that, let me try and get the dimensions. So as it sits right now, and again, it's not meant to be this way, it's still about 51 inches wide or so. And I could probably save some by moving it closer together. The tallest part is probably the trident here, is 26 inches. And the deepest part, again, and there's variability depending how you display it, probably 33 inches or so. For exact dimensions, you can check out XM Studio's website or Cosmic Chase. That's where I bought this from. So I think the design is really cool. I think if everything was static and you couldn't do alterations on where the platforms are, where the trophies are, the fact that you can actually remove that base, I think is pretty cool. So I think it's a 4 out of 5 on design. One could argue 5 out of 5, but when it gets this big, it's just really difficult to display. If you want to see where I'm going to display him, check out my social media. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm going to put them with all my other throne statues. I have a pretty vast collection. You can actually check out this recent short video right here. Now we're going to dive into a video to look at the paint and sculpt. XM Studios is consistent with paint and sculpt. Paint? Did I call it paint and sculpt? Anyway, that's what they're consistent with. Check out the video. Now it's going to be difficult to highlight the paint and sculpt of everything. So we're going to mostly fix our eyes on Maestro here, but then we'll briefly look at the other stuff. Something I forgot to mention when we talked about design is most of the stuff around here, there's places they want you to put it per the assembly and pictures, but they're proximity pieces, so you could really put them anywhere. And obviously, I'm not just talking about the canisters, but Juggernaut's helmet, Thor's hammer, there's not actually a key or anything that holds them in. So very quickly, the platform looks great. And this is some of the stuff that was missing on the larger base that went underneath here. But almost some circuitry. And again, he had this trophy room which the Rebels kind of took over as a headquarters. It looked nothing like this. But I like this, how it's kind of ghetto, but future tech. So it's kind of that mix, and it looks really good. It's clean. You know, interesting on this, it's actually an acrylic top. And I thought this would have like a light up feature. It looks like it does, but I can't figure that out. So maybe I'm just missing it. But even the symbiotes look great. A little dull. They're not the star of the show. All the helmets too, or the trophies I guess he has, are all very, very battle damaged. So insinuating that he did destroy them, whether it's, scarring or scrapes, or, the wires coming out of both War Machine and Iron Man there. And then even over here, Magneto's helmet, messed up. And we'll take a closer look at those. We'll actually go around to the back. But the Sentinel looks great. Very impressive Sentinel. Reminds me a lot of my custom Sentinels that you see back there. I think the head size, because this is actually a face, you'll see that again in the back, is about perfect. But so he constructed a Sentinel out of this. Great scoring on the Sentinel, a lot of shading. That black shading again insinuates it's a fight. There's wires and circuitry everywhere that have been knocked out. Paint's incredibly clean too, so you don't see a lot of bleed over or anything like that. Maestro himself sculpted fantastic. So he did wear he wore some goofy clothes, I'm going to tell you. This one actually doesn't look bad at all, but fully sculpted, but you can still see the folds and the seams, and then the texture. Look at these boots. Look at the straps on them. They look like actual straps. So they do a great job sculpting and then painting clothes so it appears to be mixed media. Hulk himself, I think the anatomy is fantastic. It's not overly done. Portrait looks a little small. I did notice that. But they have the typical veins protruding from his arms and biceps and chest. I like that. A little bit of scarring on the armor he wore sometimes. Great job on the fingernails here. So Hulk, to me, don't get me wrong, I couldn't do it, but always seems like you can make a really good Hulk statue with the paint and sculpt. Here they had the challenge of a lot of clothing over that, and I think they pulled it off well, especially layering the clothing. There's my horrible QC issue. But yeah, really nice job on Maestro overall. I think I'm very impressed by the paint and sculpt. I think the trophies add a little bit of the ones specifically on the base, so if you didn't get all the proximity pieces, look really good. Let's look at the back of this really quick. I apologize, the lighting's not as good back here. But again, a lot of what I was telling you with the Sentinel head, the scoring, the battle damage, looks really good. The cape from Doctor Strange, totally torn up and ripped. Even Surfer's board. And I believe there was a story of Surfer in there in the omnibus, if I'm not mistaken. Namor's trident. So even fantastic looking on the back here. The problem with this is, if you're going to display it like I am without the turntable, you'll never see the back. You'll never see the light-up feature in the eyes we looked at. But that's fine for me. I don't think I would turn it so you walk in the room and you're just looking at the head of a Sentinel with a few things back here. Also, another note. Again, these just sit here, so they can fall over really easy. So you got to make sure that you got them decently displayed. And again, I'll never see the surfboard from the back, so maybe I'll figure out a way I can display it at the front. But overall, very impressed with the paint and sculpt on this, front and back. And that includes the proximity pieces, Maestro, and the throne himself. Sculpt, I have to give it a 5 out of 5, not only on the trophies, but I think the throne and Maestro himself. It's excellent in my opinion. This would probably fall more in the design category, but his head is a little small. Paint, disregarding that QC mark, I'm still giving it a 5 out of 5. Really impressive. So the nice thing about this is XM Studios said we're going to go big. And not only did they go big, but they executed great on it. So, is this worth it? This is an expensive statue. So again, I got this from Cosmic Chase. They do a great job with not only XM Studios, but quite a few other brands. There's a link for them in the description below. It's not an affiliate link, just so you can check out cool shit like this that they have. Thanks to them for getting this to my table. XM Studios is based in Singapore, so they sell things in Singapore dollars. The equivalent of one Singapore dollar is about 75 cents to the American dollar. So with that being said, the retail on this was $4,500 and shipping with Cosmic Chase was $1,500. That's 6,000 Singapore dollars. So you're $4,500 US dollars all into this. That is a lot of money for a quarter scale statue. One could argue this Iron Man and War Machine are almost additional quarter scale statues with it. Still, does that justify the price? So they made 350 of these with the trophy. Now without the trophies, they only made 100. So this is a pretty rare statue, which makes sense due to the high price and how much room it takes up. And people are already arguing this could be the best statue of 2024. I definitely think it's in the running. I mean, granted, it's very early in the year. I just counted down last year's best licensed statues about a month ago. You can check it out in this video right here. So is he worth it? Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. $4,500 for this. I don't think he is. I think the value is a 2 out of 5 on this. You think about it, if I was to sell this, I paid $4,500. Shipping alone would be $600 elsewhere in the US, so I'd have to find some sucker who would pay $5,200 or so just for me to break even. So I think it's a 2 out of 5 on value despite how good it is. Because that's the last category though. Does it have the X factor? X factor is this wow? Are you instantly drawn to it? This is probably the biggest no-brainer X factor I've ever seen. This is a 5 out of 5 statue overall, despite some of the issues, despite I can't speak today. Despite the low value I gave it, really, really amazing. Super happy I ordered it. Bummed I spent that much money. So what do you guys think? Obviously, this is amazing. I don't think very many people are going to argue that. So throw in the comments below, what would you give it on the value 1 through 5? Am I wrong with my 2? Throw that down in the comments below because you could win a statue. It won't be this one, but we're going to do another giveaway this year, hopefully multiple. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you got to be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you want to make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, please subscribe. We get shit like this all the time. It's very exciting. And again, I appreciate everybody watching. If you could just show me a little bit of appreciation, hitting that like button, it makes me feel all good and, you know, like I have fake friends.